Hey YouTube, today we're going to be unboxing and take a look at this budget, bargain basement budget model, an Ashthorpe S-Type that I got off of, it was Amazon. It was like right at $100, and it even comes with accessories and stuff, so I'm highly skeptical, but I'm very interested to see what they put in this package for $100. And first thing I noticed before I even unbox this thing is it actually has the name on the box. I mean, it's a small thing, but when you receive a box that has absolutely no indication of what's in it and so forth, it's not as exciting and interactive with you. It doesn't build any brand presence. And this is I assume, just a new brand. I've not seen their stuff before, so I'm assuming it's a new Chinese brand. But the fact that it has a name on the box is at least a step in the right direction. So stay tuned, and we're going to take a look at this Ashthorpe S-Type. All right, I mean, I can say already, this is a much nicer gig bag than I expected. Much nicer. I mean, it looked decent in the pictures, but you never know. I mean, I expected it to be flimsy little nothing. Take a look at this is my whipping boy. Take a look at my glary Telecaster style review. It came with a gig bag, and it's just barely like windbreaker. But this is actually padded, and it has heavy gauge teeth on the bag, and the zippers are actually, pretty significant. So, I mean, it's got actually pretty nice webbed, I mean, for a absolute budget economy nothing guitar, so far so good. It's got, actually stitched on here. I mean, my assumption is already that they are selling these at a loss just to get a foot in the market, because there's no way for $100 that they've been able to put this package together. And it even comes with a true accessory bag, not just the whammy bar and, a Allen wrench or two, but it comes with, it's got a cable, which is going to be a cheapy economy cable, but it's actually, a little thicker than the usual cheapy ones. It's got a little cheap strap, and looks like even an extra set of strings and a polishing cloth and some picks, and even has a helpful little beginner's guide on here where you've got a discussion of the parts of your guitar, tuning it, the strings and how they relate to a piano. It's got chord sheet on the back, and it's actually a nice heavy gauge piece of paper. It's not just flimsy. Full color. I mean, this is surprising me. I honestly, I expected this to be another just junk guitar like that glary, honestly, because that thing, I'm never going to get another glary based off of my experience with that one guitar. Absolute garbage fire. This has got a padded gig bag. I mean, it's not super high quality, but I've literally bought bags for about what I paid for this. So the fact that it's got actually a semi-rigid padded gig bag, and it's actually a very handsome looking, like a faux tweed sort of. It's a fabric pattern on the top. It stands out. Like this is surprising me so far, and we'll see how the guitar actually is. But like, these sorts of impressions make such a difference. Like, if you're thinking about getting this guitar for, like, you've got a kid, you got a teenager that wants to learn guitar, already I can tell you this is a really nice beginner package. We'll see how the guitar is, but so far you get an actual like quality gig bag. You get a sheet that a beginner would be able to sit down with that sheet and actually learn some things about the guitar. It's not just your usual like, here's a poorly translated guide on truss rod adjustment, and you're like, I don't know what a truss rod is. So you can tell they are like really putting this into the beginner market, and these are the things that are important to a beginner opening up, especially like a gift, and this is like your first guitar. It's got a nice bag. It's got accessories, so if you bust a string, you're not like, oh, I can't play it now because you got an extra set of strings in there. You've got all the basic essentials other than an amp. That's the only thing this doesn't come with, which, I mean, come on, $100, this is already an incredible value. And it's got a nice little tag. Again, this is all very nice, like they really, it seems like they thought through. And let me just say, I haven't said this yet, I bought this with my own money, and I'm not sponsored. I just saw this on sale on Amazon, and I was like, I have no idea anything about that brand, but I'm curious to see what they have to offer. And, you know, it looked like again, my expectation was this was going to be another dumpster fire like that Glary, but it's got this nice little card on here that tells you to be careful about over-tuning, which, you know, more seasoned guitarists obviously know, but if you're a beginner and you're trying to tune, if you keep tuning up, you'll eventually do damage to your guitar. And you can also like blow a string out and get some, you know, damage to yourself as well. So let's see what we have in here by way of actual guitar. The accessories and packaging, I've got to give them an A. I mean, for the price, considering this price range, all of this so far has been like an A+. I'm not sponsored. This is just, I'm legitimately impressed with the packaging, with the way that this presents as you open it, as you unbox it. And that is unusual, highly unusual for this price category. Usually you get a nondescript box with no sorts of indication of what you're even getting, other than it's vaguely guitar shaped. And this, so far, I mean, for being a budget guitar, this is, yes, it is definitely a budget guitar. I mean, you can feel that looking at it and so forth, but it's not, it doesn't feel like junk. It's got a nice distributed weight to it, and this comes in some actually rather handsome colored bursts. I opted for the red burst. They also have the red burst with black pick guard, and I believe they have like a blue and a green. So that was one of the things that drew my attention to it. Like, okay, it's just another cheap Strat copy. Yeah, sure. But I saw that color, like, you know, that's a nice burst. Like, I like the coloration. You know, is it perfect? No. I mean, and it's a semi-transparent burst, so you can see there's a little bit of coloration distinction between the slabs right there, but it's not ugly. And the paint is not perfectly smooth. I see a little dimple there. You know, the hardware doesn't strike me as being, you know, high end, but this is a $100 guitar, and we have to temper our expectations. You've got a couple little dot knots right there, but nothing like that Glary had these big smudgy looking. It was ugly. This has actually got is a satin neck on here, and it needs a little buffing to make it a little smoother, but it's a nice satin finish on that neck, and it's got a very nice dark wood. I think this is one of these like composites. I'll have to check the specs on this, but I think this is one of these composites, you know. I don't think it's natural wood, but it's nice and dark, and it's been mated very well. Not feeling any issues going down the neck. The body joint is very tight, very tight. This is, and this is again, I believe this is a composite, and it's a really neat color. It's almost gray black, like the striations in it are more gray than you get with you know, rosewood or laurel or anything. It's a neat coloration. And there's a shot down the guitar, and I can see it's been reasonably buffed. I can see the buffing sheen that it gets. So, you know, this has been properly finished, and The hardware is, you know, economy but good quality. Better than I just check out my Grote review I did. This is a great like side by side because they were like right at that same price level. The Grote came in a nondescript box, had nothing with it except, you know, just the ubiquitous Allen wrench and whammy bar. It was not well packed and so forth. This came in a actually very nice gig bag. That gig bag impressed me. The moment I opened it, I was like, this is nicer than I thought it would be. And you open the box, you get that nice card with all of the guitar information. It's very nicely done. You know, it's if you open something and you get this like junk stuff in there and it's poorly translated and looks like somebody copied it in their basement, it's not going to inspire confidence. This is very professionally, this is very nicely done. You get a nice pack of accessories with it. And so this is exactly the kind of thing that a beginner would be able to open up and feel good about. And then, I mean, it's got a nice bag. It's got these nice things with it. It looks nice. Let's check the head. Hey, look at that. It's actually painted on there. That, again, comparing this to the Grote that I just got recently, this is already, I mean, I haven't even tried playing it yet, but presentation and overall quality, I'm already putting this as significantly better than the Grote. I'm looking at the tuners now, and they are actually like close to perfectly aligned. All the little things that I usually look for, damage, you know, to the fretboard where they were polishing up, you know, top, I don't see any damage like that. The frets are very competently polished. Obviously they're not going to be, you know, really refined, but I mean, they need some sanding to make them really smooth, but I'm not cutting my fingers or anything. They could definitely be smoothed down. A few down here a little sharper. And if you're a beginner and you get this guitar, it's very easy to do. Go check out my video on polishing fret ends. It's something anybody can do with just a little bit of time and a piece of high grit sandpaper, and you can also use emery boards. So you know, it's very easy to do. I'd say the fret work is probably, in terms of the ends, I'd say a C plus. They're competently cut. They're very even, but they're not polished all that much. Which, again, temporary expectations. For $100, the fact that I have in my hand a fully built guitar, not less to think about. You have all these decent accessories and everything. This is very nice for what it is. It actually has inlays, not just paint. They're like a brushed metallic inlays, looks like. And the string trees, fine. Everything looks well installed. The nut is a little bit wider than the fretboard, and there is a tiny little fragment. I don't think it'll even be able to catch it on camera. Tiny little fragment right there that took just a little chip, but you know. And again, the paint is not perfect. You can buff it more, but this is stuff that you're only going to see when you're looking closely at the right angle. You know, just seeing this guitar at a distance, that presents very nicely. I like the color of the fretboard, and I'll have to just see how it plays in terms of how good the composite is to play. But you know, and let me see. Yeah, this has got some of the urethane issue, where you see this on a lot of lower end guitars, where when they final spray, when they finish, they spray down the fretboard with a layer of urethane to protect it, but it also hits the frets, and all that has to be polished off, and they did not polish that. So that is definitely a small oversight. You know, if you get one of these either as a gift for somebody or you get one of these for yourself, I would say, you know, it behooves you to take some time. You can start by just scratching it off by doing long, heavy bends, and that'll get you started. But the first time that you change the strings, you're going to want to buff and polish those frets so that you don't have any of that residue. You don't have any of that urethane covering, because you want a nice solid point of contact with your frets. But and the action is actually set reasonably low. I could probably go a little lower with it, but it's surprisingly low for, I mean, this is not even like entry level. This is bargain basement level. You know, I mean, there's actually no indication of manufacturer. There's no serial number, which that would be, if they're really trying to establish themselves, that would be the next step, is to get a system for that. But initial impressions on this are, this is way nicer than I expected for $100 out the door. I mean, just my general assumption here is that they are selling these at a loss, perhaps even a significant loss, just to get out there, get people to play them and things like this. Or somebody like me picks this up and does a video and says, hey, how in the heck are they selling this for $100? So, you know, initial impressions on this, very, very, very impressed. For the price point, this is way more guitar than I expected to get. So just getting this tuned up and settled in, and definitely going to need to do some work on the frets to get that urethane off. And here's a sample of what it sounds like. I haven't turned the amp on yet, but just in terms of, you hear that? You hear that sound? That is the strings hitting those spots and causing this little weird hissing sound. And so all of the frets are going to need polishing to get rid of that sound. So one of the things I like to do is just play it a little bit unplugged, because you get a sense of the sound. And this is actually making some pretty good sounds. But let's get it actually turned on here. And now this is going to need some setup. This is absolutely going to need some setup in terms of getting these frets polished and a little bit of leveling work. I like that the action is a little bit low, but right now it's still causing a lot of string buzz and that sort of thing. And so it's going to need some setup. You can hear the string buzz there. This is on the neck pickup. Oh, it's making a little squeaking, but that's a little tiny fleck of plastic under there. The plastic actually peeled off pretty good. It was peeling a little bit around the edges, but you know, not a big deal. And so this is on everything at about 7 to 8. I mean, this strikes me as a actually competent guitar. Nuts nice and rounded, not getting a lot of noise out of it. This is now on the neck and middle. Oh, there's a dead fret. Just needs leveling. So yeah, getting significant amount of buzz and that sort of thing. So my general recommendation on this is that if you're considering getting this for a beginner, make sure that you or someone you know can help to set it up, because this is going to need some setup. And that, I think, is going to be the primary distinction between this and the Squier Debut. The Squier Debut didn't come with any of the accessories and that sort of thing. It had good brand presence. You get the Squier warranty information and all that. Very good on that. But the Squier was set up better out of the box. The intonation on this, the higher 3 strings were pretty on, but the low 3 were not so well intonated. And as you can hear, they took a risk with setting it so low and missed a little bit. So the quick hack is just to set your string height, your action, a little bit higher, and that'll eliminate the string buzz on a short-term basis. Now the longer-term basis is when you take the strings off and do all that fret polishing. You're going to want to go ahead and level it down and get a better level on this. The fretwork on this is competent, but with the action being as low as it is, I'm running into considerable string buzz and so forth. So take a look. I've already got a video on leveling, a very similar situation with the Epiphone 100, Les Paul 100, that when I got it, it was used, of course, and when I got it, the action was set really high. I set it low, and then it just had a huge amount of dead spots, especially in the upper register. And so check out that video, and you can see all about leveling. Very easy. You just need a leveling block and a Sharpie. There's a capo trick also you can do to check the truss and check the neck angle. So I go through all of that in that video, so check that out. It's the do-it-yourself easy way to do fret leveling. And some fret leveling and polishing and a little bit of work on the frets and the ends and that sort of thing. And I think this is really an actually competent guitar. I'm surprised at how little noise I'm getting. My assumption is that it must be shielded. They must have got some kind of shielding in there. This is on the bridge. There's that twang. Yeah, definitely going to need some work on the neck, the fretboard, to make this really truly playable. But I'm intrigued by this has got some decent sound coming out of it. There's that. There's definitely some fret issues right in there, and it's unfortunate. And this is the danger of getting one of these sorts of packages for a beginner, is that a beginner is going to start playing, and why is it making those terrible sounds? It's because it's not set up. It's not your fault. It's the guitar's fault, and they just didn't set it up well enough. And so this is going to take some more setup, and that would be, for me, the primary distinction. If you are shopping between something like this, I mean, this absolutely, I think, blows the Groat out of the water, and I mean, it's not even a question with the Glary. The Glary was total junk. This needs a setup on it. It needs some work, primarily up here with the frets and doing some leveling and some intonation and that sort of thing. Stuff that you can do yourself, but a beginner out of the box isn't going to know to do, and it'll be frustrating if you pick up this guitar as your first guitar and start to play it, and it buzz, 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 pop, pop. You're like, oh, I just can't play. I can't make good sounds out of it. It's not your fault. It's the guitar needing more work. It needs some setup. And so if you have the ability to do that stuff, if you're a DIYer, check out my videos, and you can run through and do all this stuff yourself. It's definitely doable. You don't need, other than just having a sanding block. That's the one kind of weird thing that you need to do. You need to have for leveling. Other than getting yourself a decent, and they're cheap. You can get these packs of DIY guitar gear for $20 or less, and it's got all sorts of different stuff in there, including a sanding block. And that's where all you need to start out with. And having a sanding block and taking some time and working these frets down, polishing the ends, and getting it a little more settled in and a little more refined and polished. I think this is definitely a decent guitar. And for the money, I mean, goodness gracious, $100, and this has got a decent gig bag. This is a nice guitar. For the money, this is a nice budget guitar, and I'm impressed with it. Okay, it absolutely needs setup. It absolutely needs some tweaking, and if you're not capable of doing that, absolutely I would steer you towards the Squier debut, which still, I think overall the quality on the Squier is a little better than this, but the paint job, this is slicker looking with this cool burst, and this has some nice aspects to it, absolutely, and you get more of a total package with that very decent gig bag. The Squier doesn't come with any of that stuff and so forth, but it came out of the box much better setup and much more playable and that sort of thing. So for a beginner, much less frustrating. But if you don't have any problem with doing a little setup, maybe you just want to add a Strat, a S type to your stable, but you don't want to put a lot of money in it. But you know how to do a basic setup. This would be a tremendous guitar for the money. This is a lot of guitar for $100. And now I'm going to need to do some work. I'm going to need to set it up. I'm not even going to shoot any. I usually do lick clips. I've got to set this up before I can do a proper lick clip, because you could hear me playing it. It's just, and there's a couple dead frets in there, and it's got to get some setup. So that's going to be a little down the road. I want to go ahead and get this out there for you all to see that overall. I mean, this company, I don't know where they come from, Ashthorpe, but they are well on their way. They're well on their way. This is a great start, and I'll be interested to see if they have other offerings down the road.